Hello and welcome back. I'm building up my outpost still. The big thing I've done since last time is start botting and beaconing everything. And this has had a knock-on effect to just about every other part of the site. So basically, as soon as I started botting and beaconing, all my resources that I thought were adequate became scarce. So first of all, the green circuits ran out. That turned out to be ultimately because the copper was running dry. So I set up a second site for processing copper, for mining and smelting copper. Pretty soon after that, once there were adequate green circuits flowing through the system, the red circuits ran out. So, great. So I dealt with the problem with the red circuits, which was that there wasn't enough plastic going in. So I came over here to this plastic site and started improving that, added some extra cracking and started to balance up the ratios a little bit more. So that got me a bit further on. I then found that the red circuits, although they had adequate materials, there just wasn't enough throughput. So I started beaconing and productivity moduling the whole of that site. Then the copper couldn't keep up again, so I went round in circles. Short story long, I've now had to add in just a ton of extra miners here on the coal by the side of my plastics because the petroleum was no longer the limiting factor. The limiting factor became how much coal I could put into these requester chests. So we're getting there slowly. If we go to map view, we can have a look at what's going on the other sites. So the red circuit making is dead at the moment because there's no plastic coming in. It basically goes through cycles of feast and famine. Whenever the plastic arrives, it goes nuts. The plastic goes away, nothing happens. This site here, I'm most of the way through adding speed beacons. There's just a few beacons to put down still. The green circuit site, I did in productivity modules, and that brought the ratio of copper to iron much closer to 1:1. So I'm now oversupplied on copper trains. I've already let one go. I still have 3 servicing this. So I haven't bothered putting speed beacons in this site yet because green circuits aren't actually a limiting factor anywhere at the moment. So the other sites I've got this is the copper mining and smelting. So vanilla mining, and then that goes into speed beaconed smelting. I haven't bothered putting productivity modules in yet. That would be the next stage with this site. But you can see there's a lot of machines, so that is a lot of beacons. At the moment, I'm only using these to supply the trains, so it's probably okay for now. I will add productivity modules in when I next run into bottlenecks. And then this is the important site, because this is where we are making our modules. So at the moment, we've got just a few tens of speed modules, about 300 of the productivity modules. I keep putting speed modules into beacons, that's why there aren't many of those. And this site here is now fully speed and productivity moduled. Blue circuits are very expensive, so it made sense to productivity module all this. Last time you saw this site, I had 2 rows of fabs. Productivity slows things down, so I added in a 3rd row, then I've speeded everything back up again with these beacons. So that's pretty much where I'm at. It's just going around at the moment, whack-a-moling productivity bottlenecks and fixing them. So we're here at plastic at the moment. Basically this site cannot keep up, so I'm going to need a second plastic site. If you remember, I set this site out so that it was ready to be beaconed. That's worked, but I think I now need to go to Sandpit and do a proper design for a beaconed everything to petroleum site. and then whack that in and probably supply it with fluid wagons from oil wells. If we go to the map view and zoom out, you can see I used these sites early because they were by water, but a lot of my oil wells, so there's some there, one right in the middle there, so there's one on the coast there, one in the middle of land there. A lot of my oil wells aren't by water, so I think what I'm going to do now is start fluid wagoning all of that stuff in to dedicated sites that only make petroleum, and then have petroleum wagons which go out to sites to make the various petroleum products. Right, so I think before we go, just check, yeah, I've got some stuff in my inventory. So just before I sign off today, let's have a quick ride in the car. And sorry, the frames per second when I'm around sites at the moment is getting lower. I need to start raining down hellfire on all the biters and trees on the map to speed things back up again. Basically, whenever I'm in a site with bots, the frames go down. Whenever I'm away from a site with bots, the frames go back up again. So the other thing that's happened is with adding bots and beacons, my power requirements have gone up. So I now have 47,000 solar panels, and I'm producing 2.5 gigawatts of power. That's not enough, so I'm producing 2.5 purely from the panels. I need to add a lot more solar panels. So far I've been adding all the solar panels back in around my starter base, which is pragmatic because I have a solar panel making array there. I already have solar panels to add to, but that's not a long-term solution. So I think either I'll be looking at a nuclear setup, or I'll be looking at building solar out here somewhere. There's more trains on the track, so I have to be a bit more careful driving across them in the car. Right. It would be a shame if we accidentally drove into a train. They really hurt. So here we are, and you can see the construction bots getting excited. Look at that. I've never had this many modules to play with before. It's amazing having just hundreds or thousands of modules to play with outside of Sandpit. So I think that's this site beaconed, so just need... Annoyingly, it doesn't show you things that need power if they're just down as ghosts. So I'm just running in the extra power poles to finish that off. We need one there. Here we are. So I think this site, barring a couple of problems with when I lay everything down, now has all the speed beacons in. So this site, you can see it's pretty active. Considering there is a single train which is pulling plates out from here, this is all going on now. There you are. Here's a train coming in, and you'll see a flurry of activity. So I think when I start launching rockets and I do drone speed infinite research, that's going to really help here. Yeah, I'm sorry for how slow it is to walk. If I zoom in and there's fewer bots going on, then it actually runs much quicker. So just to give you a feel for how much of this site is being used, I'm going to run down to the bottom middle somewhere. So I'm only mining about half this site currently. That will get fixed later on. So you can see it's pulling ore from nearly the whole of this now, which is pretty awesome. You see these huge flurries of ore being ripped out as it prioritizes one of the chests. once that chest has been mostly depleted, then they pick on another one and just rip all the ore out of that. Most of these miners are green. You can see most of them are working. There's a few yellows here and there which are full. Anyway, when this gets a bit more processed, I will shift these up tight against the miners, and I'll put another row of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 miners behind them, and a row of drone ports behind that. And I'll probably pull out the front row of miners at the front, which are depleted or getting depleted, and put in an extra row of smelting. So that's where we're at. Oh, this poor thing couldn't be put down. Anyway, that's where we're at. So thanks for watching. I'm not really sure what I'll be working on next. Since this all sort of works, I think I might start on getting research going so that we can have infinite research. I think that's probably the next thing for me to sort out. Okay, well, thanks very much. Hope to see you again soon.